when this issue of the Sandals Resort or whatever it is going to be, because I'm told that this is a waste of time what we're doing, because I'm told it is a done deal. It's been signed, it's been agreed to, and we're just wasting time. But that's not my perspective in life. My perspective is that if Trinidad and Tobago, and I do not apologize for coming to you with a Trinidad perspective, what I say is no prescription, it is how I see it. And agreement or disagreement is something we could engage in, but it's just what my perspective is. I'm very convinced that if we as a population are to achieve the objectives that we can, and if we are to live up to all the promise of the generosity that the world has endowed on us, we have to take responsibility. And one of my laments is that since Eric Williams, no leader has inspired us, no leader has said to us, these are my expectations. This is what I want you to do. Everybody else has come and they've warmed the seats. And you may be asking, why am I talking about that when there is a specific topic on the agenda? What I'm trying to communicate is that so far, the population of Trinidad and Tobago does not understand the validity, the necessity, and the haste of this project. I'm told that the project has a longer gestation, but if I don't understand that gestation period, then I still don't understand and I don't know if I can support you. One of the things that bothers me in this activity, in this whole sandals issue, is that for us to change and have a tourism industry, we have to move from tourism activities to establishing the framework that will create that industry. And we've not done that. I'm very clear in my mind that we continue to be stricken by colonialism and the plantation economy. And you may be asking, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is, we continue, let me give you an example. At the turn of the previous century, Cadbury, the international chocolate maker, they owned 430 acres in Morocco, St. Joseph, where they had cocoa estates. And they owned something called the Autonola Great House, which has been refurbished and it still exists. Chocolate and cocoa was something we exported, and we still boast that the best quality cocoa in the world, or one of the best qualities, come from Trinidad and Tobago. If we look back on the establishment of the Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture, it was established for a reason, and that's because we did some very good things in agriculture. But let me talk the cocoa story a little more. What we did is we exported the cocoa beans, and then we re-imported chocolates that had a very small percentage of the cocoa beans in it. Cost a lot of money, and we felt that that was the best thing that we could have. Up to today, our palate for chocolate is the palate that has been crafted by the Europeans and by the metropole and by the people who have created generations of wealth on the backs of the Africans and East Indians who populated this country, and we are all derived from them somehow. I've lived to see that we're attempting to re-establish the cocoa plantations, re-establish the cocoa industry, and we're trying to take responsibility for that. And to me, the story of colonialism is if you can take my small product, my product, which is very important to you, you can add value to it and then re-export it to me and I pay you a lot of money for it. Something is wrong there. And that is the kind of thing that I see happening. So I want us to hold the cocoa example as one, and then I want us to hold a second example, and that is the example for fresh fruit and ground provision. Trinidad and Tobago is importing fresh fruit and ground provision from Grenada and St. Vincent. When we do that, we give them foreign exchange, and then we consume the products that they have produced. We have similar climates, so there's absolutely no reason why our society could not plant its own food and feed ourselves. That to me is an example of being colonized by our neighbors. And I know that if you scratch any of us hard enough, up will come a Vincentian or a Grenadian. But the point is that we are still giving up foreign exchange for things that we can produce. Until we are able to feed ourselves, no tourism sector will be developed because there will be no backward linkages. What we will be doing is importing every single thing that we need. And it really hurts my heart when I hear that we're importing bananas. It hurts my heart when I hear that we're importing watermelon and pawpaw and tomatoes. You stick a tomato seed in a pot outside your front door, and in a couple of weeks, you'll get a tomato plant. If that can happen, and you maybe say that I'm being naive and all of that, if that can happen in one little plant pot by your back door, if we took that seriously, what could happen? You may be getting tired of me and saying, all you're giving me is these stories. I want to give you another story. And that story is a sandal story. No one can deny the success of sandals. It has been phenomenal. Okay? Well, why is it that Tobagonians could not come up with a product that will keep the foreign exchange here? Because if sandals is established, the information I have is that between 80 and 90% of the profit that will be derived from whatever the establishment is will be exported. So it will leave this country. That sounds to me very much like the plantation economy. That sounds to me very much like a kind of recolonization. And unfortunately, we are exposing ourselves to being recolonized by our Caribbean brothers. So, what would I suggest that we do? There's no single arrow, there's no single bullet, there's no single thing that we can do. But what is required in our country is inspired leadership. We have to develop our own products. The fact that for many years now, we have been into a take or pay arrangement with a couple airlines. And what I mean by that is we pay a couple airlines to do their advertising, and we give them a seat guarantee to bring tourists to Trinidad, to Tobago in particular. We're paying for that. Whether or not there are bottoms in those seats, we're paying for any of those that they have not sold. What that tells me is the market has not been developed. Because if the market was developed, Tobago and Trinidad would not be subsidizing a European airline. Subsidizing a European airline is expensive. It's what, 10 to 1? At one stage, I know it was about 12 to 1. That is not sustainable. So our solution has to be in igniting the imagination of our people so that we come up with what is it the tourist really wants from us, and how can we develop the product that encourages them, and when it brings them here, what we feed them, what we entertain them with, are things that are local. When people go to Cuba, they go to Cuba and they eat the same, they call it papaya, the pawpaw that is 2.5 feet long, one pawpaw. They eat the yams. They go and they see the Cuban dancers. They enjoy the Cuban rum. But why is it that we feel our salvation or our short-term solution lies in simply copying something, bringing it here, give a few of us, and I say a very few of us, a significant amount of money, and then we say we have improved the tourism sector? I put it to you that communicating our intention is important to our people, and unless we communicate our full intention to our people, 50 years down the road, we will still be here having this conversation. It is time for Trinidad and Tobago to take the longer term view. We have to start to look at what we're doing in terms of what will happen in 50 to 100 years. Because the 5-year syndrome that we've been operating with has not worked. And I just want to close on another note that I have a serious difficulty with, and that is the short-termism of our democratic system. The winner-take-all syndrome has not worked for us. So what you have is at more than 60, I think it is about 75 state corporations with state boards who are appointed every 5 years. And almost every 5 years, they throw out the strategic plan and they come up with a new strategic plan. The time has come for us to appoint state boards. Well, first to do two things. Rationalize our state boards and ask ourselves, do we really need all of them? Which are the ones that can really add value? And then the second thing is to appoint state boards so that they straddle political parties, so that they straddle administrations, so that even if the administration changes, it becomes extremely difficult to throw out that strategic plan and start with a new one. So if you had to summarize, I had to summarize what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes, and I think it's 10 minutes I have some real pinch points, and my pinch points are: 1, we must not allow ourselves to be recolonized. Number 2, we need to develop the products to ensure that we have a tourism industry and not tourism activities. And thirdly, as a society, we have to look at the way we appoint our state boards and ensure that they add value to us. And I wish to thank you very much. I would be open, I suppose, to questions subsequently. Thank you.
How is it